Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. I wanted to thank Jeannie White, station manager, for producing the show and writing the blog, and Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio. Folks, do you have teenagers in your house? Do you know of any teenagers? Then you're going to want to listen to this podcast. As you are well aware of, we are in a mental health crisis in this world as never seen before. I am a mental health advocate, and I am so happy to have with me today two people who are doing something for teenagers and parents. I want to welcome Antoinette Mayer, she's Senior Director of Corporate Citizenship of BlueSky, California, and Mark Seelig, who is Media Relations of BlueSky of California. I want to welcome you both to Chatting with Betsy.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Betsy.
You're welcome. When I received this press release, I was really excited. So could you please tell the audience what is BlueSky and about your survey? What have you been finding with teenagers and their parents? Whoever wants to go, whoever wants to answer, it's fine.
Sure. So our Blue Shield of California BlueSky initiative is essentially Blue Shield's commitment to helping California youth get access to culturally responsive mental health supports and resources. Our goal was, when we were establishing this signature program on behalf of the company, was really to address a pressing social challenge and to drive significant positive change. And we identified student mental health and resilience as a serious issue in California that wasn't getting the attention that it deserved. The research was really compelling, and studies were showing that up to 1 in 5 students in the U.S. has a serious mental health need. But in California, too few of those affected were getting the necessary services. Another kind of really powerful proof point is that the student to California school counselor ratio is 612 to 1. Moreover, mental illness is the #1 reason California youth are hospitalized. So as a health plan, Blue Shield of California understands that the critical role that emotional health plays in a person's overall health, and that really, in order to mitigate adverse childhood experiences, we really need to, that can actually lead to a reduced risk of chronic illnesses over one's lifetime. So we really are investing in these culturally responsive mental health supports and resources to really support kind of youth mental well-being in schools across California.
I love that. That touches my heart because it's so important. And I'm sure that you would recommend, Antoinette, parents keeping the lines of communication open with their children when their child comes to them, for help, not to ignore them.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's really important for parents to take time to check in with their child, to check in with themselves, and also with their partners, to really just ask how they can help. We actually recently commissioned a survey of U.S. parents to find out what their top stressors were and what they consider their children's top stressors to be in the fall of 2020. Some of the interesting findings from that survey are that one really important bright spot were that parents are overwhelmingly suggested that they are regularly having mental health conversations with their kids. And so that is really important because, as you know, there's been a really a big stigma around talking about mental health. And so it was really, really positive to see that parents are talking to their children about mental health. Some of the other topics that we discovered, through the survey that were most stressful for parents to talk about with their children were COVID-19, their child's mental health, as well as family finances. So those are just a couple of things that we learned through this most recent survey.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, Betsy, if you don't mind, you mentioned.
Oh, go ahead.
When the teen comes to the parents,
yes.
We're finding also that it's best if the parents actually maybe initiate the conversation at certain points as well, to make sure, as Antoinette mentioned, to check in, to make sure that your child is doing okay, because they may not be expressing it to you or a parent especially. They might be speaking about their issues with a friend or a trusted advisor at school or something like that. So parents definitely need to do the legwork on occasion to really find out what's going on with their child, especially during this pandemic.
Absolutely. The isolation alone, the fear of the unknown would make anyone who already has a mental health issue, I would say, become worse. And I grew up, I'm not afraid to say my age, I'm 63. When I was growing up in the 70s, mental health was not talked about. I suffered from depression. I went for counseling. It was not talked about then, and there was the stigma. There still is a stigma, but I'm hoping and I'm seeing that it is improving with mental health public service announcements, and I'm very pleased that BlueSky, Blue Shield of California, is doing something. It's just thrills me, if you will, that this is getting noticed, that children, teenagers, parents are getting involved. This is so important. Since the mental health issue is a crisis in California, are you seeing a rise of suicides?
I don't think we have looked at that data and would have that for this podcast, but it's certainly something that we're concerned about. I wanted to spin back to what you were saying about the stigma,
sure.
And how things are changing a little bit. We're seeing more and more now influencers on social media, and we're talking athletes and actors and actresses and entertainers and other people who have huge followings who are actually speaking out right now. We see Michael Phelps, the swimmer, talks very candidly about his struggles with mental illness. Kevin Love from the NBA is doing the same thing. So anytime we could get folks of that ilk to speak about the issues, maybe normalize it and let other people know that they're not alone when they recognize that they're suffering from something, I think is gigantic right now.
Yeah, and I just think it's really critical during this. Yeah, I would just add that it's just really critical during this time to hear more and more people, out in the public talking about this, because right now there's just, very limited kind of social networks, sports and art programs, and really access to counselors and school support systems because of the virtual environment that kids are experiencing. And, meanwhile, with social justice issues taking center stage across the country, we need to kind of find more ways, for kids to really work through some of these issues like anxiety, depression, and trauma. And so, through kind of our BlueSky initiative, we really are looking to find ways so that kids have their ability to reach their full potential.
This might sound like a strange question, but a teenager, well, the parent, do they have to have Blue Shield to be involved with BlueSky?
No. So this is our BlueSky initiative is a partnership that's really in collaboration with a couple of different partners, like the California Department of Education and other nonprofit organizations. And so BlueSky is offered at a number of schools in Alameda and San Diego County. So we support kind of mental health supports at middle and high school students at about 19 schools in Alameda and San Diego counties. And we're basically partnering with an organization called Wellness Together that supplies additional mental health specialists at schools. You do not need to be a Blue Shield of California member to participate in the counseling sessions provided by Wellness Together.
Well, that's good to know. And how does a teenager get in touch with BlueSky or their parent? Or is that through the school system?
Yes. So they would be referred to a mental health specialist with Wellness Together at their school. And then they would basically be scheduled to have a counselor support session through the school-based service.
Yeah, of course, that's not happening, at least here in California, because schools are in distance learning. But one interesting aspect when the pandemic hit last March, I can't believe we're almost on a year that we've been sort of struggling through this. Our supporters at Wellness Together were so perfectly tuned to go virtual with these sessions. They were able to get a schedule up and running within like 48 hours. So students who were seeking and actually participating in counseling sessions at school were able to, get their schedules back up on a Zoom or even via phone if they had to within a couple of days. And that was remarkable because there were other agencies, and we talked a lot about this back in March, that were really struggling to pivot with the pandemic. And Wellness Together had done virtual trainings and other types of things in the past and had sort of, they just sort of debugged it and were able to really turn things around very quickly, which was a huge benefit for the students. They weren't left to twist in the wind for several weeks before these types of sessions were rescheduled. They were able to really almost, immediately revert back to a regular schedule, which was pretty amazing.
That's fantastic. That's so important. It's so critical for these children. And I call them children because I'm an old lady, but these teenagers to have the help when they need it. I mean, waiting a week or two could put somebody in a very desperate situation. And that's kudos. Kudos to BlueSky. I would love to see this national, like in every state. Do you think that eventually it could be, or is it just exclusive to California?
Yeah, so we're primarily focused on California because that's where our members are really based out of. So right now, kind of on the current horizon, it is really just to serve California youth.
I think. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, but I'm a dreamer, and I really would love to see this program scaled and see other plans or other industries sort of visit our model and see if there's a way that they could make this grow, because I think when it's all said and done, I think this program is a benefit to everybody.
Yes. Was just thinking, because it's, refresh my memory, Mark, it's Blue Shield or is it Blue Cross? I always get confused. Blue Shield. Right. Because there are Blue Shield in New Jersey and I'm sure in other states, and I think that they should look at your model and start having it all over, because students need to have the help that they need during this time. And it's a tough time, and 2021 is, not looking, well, it might be looking a little brighter with the vaccination, but, we're still in sort of lockdown. So I'm just happy that the teenagers in California are getting help. And anyone in California who's listening to this, check out BlueSky. How can they get in touch with BlueSky, Mark and Antoinette?
Yeah, Antoinette, I'll jump in real quickly on this one. We just relaunched our BlueSky website, and people can check out all of the resources, even read a lot of the stories that we've told at our website, bluesky.blueshieldca.com. It's our brand new website, brand new URL, and there's a ton of great resources on that website that people can take a look at right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Do you, Antoinette, have anything else you would like to share with the audience that you feel like you didn't say?
Yeah, I would just, so on that website that Mark referenced, I think, there's some other great resources that might be helpful, not only for parents, but also for youth. So in September, the BlueSky initiative launched in partnership with DoSomething.org, a first-of-its-kind mental health guide created for students by students. That was, during the COVID-19 pandemic, obviously, because we're going through it still. And there are some really great examples of stress relievers that youth cited to really help kids cope. Some examples of that are just, finding a creative outlet, keeping active and getting outside, finding kind of space to express emotions, and also finding ways to really reach out when you need help. And so, highly recommend, families checking out that Do Something guide called the Youth Mental Health Guide, and I think that there's some really great tips for kids.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome, and I would like to encourage my audience, please check it out. Even if you don't live in California, just check out. It will give you ideas for your own teenagers. And then maybe you can call up your insurance company plan and say, what are you doing? So make some waves. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, or at least gets noticed. Mark, do you have any closing statements that you would to say?
Certainly. The program is not just about getting kids into counseling sessions. There's some other components that I think are really interesting. One of the things that we're also doing is working with the Department of Education here in California on what's called Youth Mental Health First Aid Training. And what they're doing is they're actually training individuals who are connected to schools. We're talking about coaches, nurses, teachers, teacher aides, even bus drivers are taking this class. We'll call it a class. It's like a several-hour session, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to train these adults, these caring adults, about the signs to look for that a student might be dealing with a mental health issue. And we're talking about things that might have been chalked up to a kid acting out. Even a couple of years ago, that student is just acting out and we're going to send that kid to the principal's office. What we're finding now is that a great majority of these episodes where a student is acting out is actually a mental health issue. Maybe there's something going on at home with mom or dad, or maybe a relative passed away or something like that. And the beauty of this part of the program is that these teachers, these caring adults, are being trained to look for those signs, and when they see them, instead of sending that student down to the principal's office to be reprimanded in some way, they're sending them down to the counselor's office and saying, hey, I think you need to take a closer look and ask this student what's going on. And the way it would work is that we're interjecting ourselves at some point early in the process where the student is now getting help and not being being punished for something that is obviously a mental health issue. So that's just another component of this program, which is wide-ranging. Antoinette mentioned it's in several schools in Alameda and San Diego counties. It's only about a year and a couple of months old, so we're still gathering data to find out what's working really well and where we might be able to tweak the program a little bit, and so we're just waiting for more data, and I think the plan is hopefully at some point, if we can, just to scale up and to make it broader to more schools, that kind of thing.
Oh, well, thank you, Mark, for coming on, and Antoinette, and sharing what BlueSky is doing. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I'm a firm advocate with mental health awareness. I hope your program excels even more, and I hope other companies and schools across the country take a look at what California is doing. And I love the fact that the students are now going to the counselor and taking a deeper look into what's going on. When I think back to, when I was growing up, children, teenagers, you think you're the only one going through something, and you find out you're not. That other teenagers are feeling lonely or depressed or have other issues. And to have the acceptance in school among teachers and their peers is so important. I can't even stress that enough. So I want to thank you for coming on my show today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you very much.
Yes. You could do us a great service by pointing people to that website and have them take a look again at BlueSky.blueshieldca.com. And again, there's just a wealth of resources and stories, and the entire program is mapped out there. If anybody wants any more information, they can get information on that website, and there's even a function to reach out to us if you have any questions. So happy to answer more questions from folks who listen to this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you both. Thank you so much for coming on. Folks, I would jump on the website and get in touch with Mark and find out how this can help you. And you know what? As a parent, and my child is 36, but I can tell you from my past, do not shut off communication with your child. You do not want your child going out to the streets and going to the wrong people for advice. Listen to them without judgment and refer them to school counselors and to people who can help them. It's no reflection on you as a parent if that's what you're afraid of. Do it for your child. I want to thank everyone for listening. If you missed any of this podcast, you can listen to it wherever you hear your favorite podcast. I'm also on Amazon Music. And folks, please share this podcast. It's important. And subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, because I have important guests with valuable resources and information that will help you. Until we talk again, this is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. And if you can't have a Merry Christmas or Happy New Year, I hope you find a peaceful one. Thank you. Bye-bye now.